please welcome to the stage founder and CEO of the Center for Education Reform, Jeanne Allen.
Good morning. Wade, thank you so much. Where'd you go? That was amazing. Really, really appreciate that. Lots of us have lots of memories of that day. One of the things that I've actually recalled last year in writing for Forbes was that it happened when former President George Bush was in a classroom. And some of you might remember that was the discussions, the negotiations of No Child Left Behind. And whatever you believe or say or think about policy, good or bad, I think it's kind of poignant that it was an education day. It was also an effort, as many people have talked about, as I've certainly thought a lot, of great unity and bipartisanship. It was a time when you had a president of one party, George Bush, Republican, who partnered with the late Senator Ted Kennedy on a very, very real and vital issue on accountability. And then something that a lot of people also don't know about, which my associate Michael Musanti had a lot to do with, is the bipartisanship at the time at the Capitol over even giving children and poor children in Washington, D.C., the opportunity to choose the school that their parents think is best for them. And we know that that is and it's hard to believe sometimes that that was the backdrop for much of what is happening here today, much of what happens in this room. And so just as a prelude to just some brief welcoming remarks to you, I just want to say that it happened once, and that kind of unity and strength can happen again. So we're here to celebrate and to talk and learn about one another, but I really just need to defer all of that learning and education knowledge, if you will, to you all. And really, I want to talk more about the lady behind me that maybe some of you still can see, Lady Liberty. Because when we talk about the promise of freedom, that is the beacon, and that is the statue, the symbol that so many people saw when they first entered the country. My father was one of those people, and he went on a ship past Lady Liberty on his way to Ellis Island, as did the family of my mother, as did so many families represented in this room today. I remember we first came here to look at this building, Jeanne, Yass, and I kind of commented how spectacular it was and how it really, as you look around, while it's one city, it's still a gateway to the nation. So many of you have similar stories, and you may not have come by this waterway for the promise of freedom. You may have come many different ways. But just reflecting back on what Wade was talking about, yesterday we remembered, and today we still remember, that the promise of freedom that brings people here, that brought people here, is that same promise, that same motivation that pushed people to save our country on 9/11. We know that hatred runs deep in our world. It can manifest itself in many, many ways. It can be obvious, like it was when the building was standing here. Right here was knocked down. And it could be hiding. Darkness, however, is always, always overcome by light. The power of freedom knows no bounds. And it's a power that lives not just in our country, but in the work we do every day. Alexis de Tocqueville, notes that it is unlimited freedom to associate for our political goals that prevents a tyranny of the majority. And that democracy is the best government for that purpose. In a democracy, citizens are able to repair their mistakes, either politically or individually, which also helps to combat against tyranny or despotism. It is through democratic freedom that one can understand the pertinent links between liberty and freedom and responsibility. And freedom from others in a democratic state allows for natural liberties to thrive. Liberty, more precious than freedom, is only preserved by a commitment to freedom. That the power of education can actually convey this. These are lessons I learned and opened up my mind as the daughter of an immigrant in college. I had never known who Tocqueville is. I didn't realize that people forged reports and things like this and talked about it. I just knew that I grew up in a great country and my parents and my family said, go do something great. And when I first heard that, I remember thinking to myself, why am I only learning this at 18 years old? And I wanted to know more. And it sparked me a love of government, a love of understanding of history. Through great education, we can learn and we can act on our better angels. We can act to be united in the work we do every day. And we can act even when we disagree to come together for what's right. Most of the people came here, whether through Lady Liberty, over a border, or different ways, came here for a better world. They left despots and wholly unequal societies. Most wanted better, and most knew that once they got here, the great education was the great equalizer. Many of you have had to fight fierce battles to give great education to kids, and we know it. We've seen your stories, we've read your stories, we've shown up in many of your institutions, and hopefully we will continue to do so. It's people like you who are operating outside traditional systems, forging new territory, who are emblematic of this country. You're the pioneers today. Whether you came past this building one way or another, you're the pioneers that are so emblematic of the American spirit, and you continue the spirit that goes on every day in this country. Next Tuesday is Constitution Day. The people who created it paid a price for freedom as well. Tell their story to your students. Tell them to your kids. No matter what you do, no matter your course or program, whether you run an apprenticeship program, whether you're elementary kids, you don't think they're going to understand it, no matter what you're doing, tell their story. Make sure they understand the sacrifices people made to be able to see what you see today behind me, to be able to do what you do today. You have to tell them, and you have to keep telling them, and you have to make sure they, and even the adults around you, remember what they may have learned in 3rd, 4th grade, or even when they got to college. It is how we will survive and prosper. The foundation of this work we do, the foundation of this effort for sustainable, transformational, outstanding, permissionless education, full stop, is why we're here. And there's no one in this room that doesn't believe that it is literally the most important national security issue that we have today. So please remember that in your work. Have fun, enjoy, and don't forget it's serious business. Thank you so much.